Good news first. After a year of marriage, I found out I was expecting. The bad news came in the same envelope. Along with the pregnancy report was another piece of paper, my medical diagnosis, premature glandular failure. And my husband, Adam, the alpha everyone admires, calm, distant, a name that rules the business world. He would never accept a partner with an illness like that. Marcus, male Omega, age 24, diagnosed with early glandular degeneration. The words were printed clearly in black and white. I must have read them a dozen times, hoping, praying, it was a mistake or just a bad dream. But underneath that report lay another. Pregnancy confirmed. Embryo stable. 3 months along. 2 sheets of paper, identical in size, but worlds apart in meaning. One promised life, the other quietly took it away. The car slowed. "Sir, we're almost home," the driver said softly. I blinked back to reality, crumpled the diagnosis in my hand, and when I stepped out, I threw it into the garden bin. As if that simple motion could throw away the illness too. Clutching the thin pregnancy report, I walked into the house. The butler met me with a gentle smile, taking my coat. "Mr. Adam has already gone upstairs. Would you like something to eat? The kitchen is ready." I nodded, then shook my head. My chest felt hollow. Adam had wanted to come with me this morning, but work called him away. So I went to the hospital alone. When I saw the positive result, I texted him immediately. "I've got a surprise for you tonight." But then came the other report, the kind of surprise that ruins the joy before it even starts. Our marriage had always been one of family arrangement, not passion. Adam was logical, distant, composed. He wouldn't want an Omega whose health was fading. And I didn't know how to face him. My steps were heavy as I climbed the stairs. The faint sound of water came from the bathroom. Adam was taking a shower. I stood outside for a long moment, before finally pushing the door open. He didn't turn around. "You're back," he said simply, as if he had sensed me all along. That was just like him, never surprised, never unprepared. I remembered our wedding night, how nervous I had been, how quiet he was, how I'd learned that Adam never locked the bathroom door, because no one dared to walk in. No one except me. A year had passed since then. I wasn't that timid newlywed anymore, but somehow, the same ache filled my chest. He adjusted the water temperature without looking at me. "Your hands are cold." His tone was flat but not unkind. The warm water continued to fall, soft and rhythmic, filling the silence between us. For a moment, I almost forgot what I'd come to say. My gaze lingered on him, his shoulders, his calmness, his distance. I thought of the first time we met. Adam had always been emotionally distant, a real medical condition, people said. His parents had passed away early, leaving him to be raised by his grandfather. That old man wanted him married, wanted the family line continued. When Adam refused, his grandfather threatened to disown him. I met Adam at a banquet his grandfather hosted. He had invited every eligible Omega from the city. I wasn't supposed to be there. A nobody, an illegitimate child, barely acknowledged by my own family. But my father sent me anyway. He wanted a connection to the powerful Morgan family. And for reasons I still don't understand, Adam chose me. Before the banquet even ended, he called me into a private room. On the table sat a compatibility report and a diamond ring. "Marcus," he said simply, "will you marry me?" I said yes. That night, he took me to meet his grandfather. The old man smiled, satisfied, and for a moment I thought maybe, just maybe, I had been chosen by fate. After all, being Adam's lawful partner, even in name only, was better than being a forgotten son in my father's house. Our wedding was quiet, our life together, peaceful, on the surface. Adam was never cruel, just unreachable, and I told myself I could live with that. Until today. I looked at him now, his face half hidden in the steam, so calm it almost hurt. My throat tightened. "Adam," I whispered, "we need to talk." He turned slightly, water trailing down his back. "About what?" I forced the words out. "I want a divorce." He froze. For a moment, the sound of running water was the only thing between us. Then, in a low, measured voice, he asked, "What did you just say?" I said, "I want to leave." "Why?" His tone was controlled, but something cracked beneath it. "Marcus, give me a reason." I closed my eyes, covering my face with one hand. "Do I need one? We both know why we married. It was for your grandfather. He's gone now. There's no reason to keep pretending." He clenched his jaw. "So that's it. He's gone, and now you walk away." The words burned on my tongue, but I said them anyway. "Yes." Adam stepped out of the shower, wrapped a towel around himself, and looked straight at me. "Marcus," he said slowly, "I don't know what happened today. But from where I stand, our marriage is fine. If you're unhappy, tell me what you need. I'll do what I can." But tonight, you're not thinking clearly. Rest. If you still feel the same tomorrow morning, we'll talk again. He rarely said so much. And then he left the room. When the door closed behind him, I finally lowered my hands. My wedding ring glinted under the light, wet with tears. I turned it slowly between my fingers, remembering the day he slipped it on for the first time. He had noticed that the original ring was too big, so he had one made just for me. Grandfather said never to let you feel wronged, he told me then. This one fits perfectly. Consider it both a gift and a promise. I'll never let you be uncomfortable in this marriage. That was Adam, steady, thoughtful, always keeping his word. And maybe that was why it hurt so much. I lifted the ring, ready to take it off. But before I could, the door opened again. Adam stood there, holding a thin sheet of paper in one hand, my pregnancy report. The butler followed nervously, clutching my coat. I'm sorry, sir, the butler stammered. It fell from the pocket when I took it for cleaning. Adam waved him off. The door closed. Silence filled the room again. He walked toward me slowly, his expression unreadable. So, he said, this was the surprise you wanted to tell me about. I turned my face away. It doesn't matter anymore. How can it not matter? You're carrying our child, Marcus. And you want to leave me now? Why? There's no reason, I said, my voice trembling. Adam's fingers tightened around the report. His voice dropped, low and unyielding. Marcus, listen to me. If you're thinking about leaving, don't. He paused, his eyes meeting mine, sharp and final. Don't even think about it. I tasted Adam's dominance for the very first time. People had always described him that way, decisive to the point of ruthlessness. Once Adam made up his mind, there was no turning back. And this time was no exception. I was practically confined within the estate. My world had shrunk to the size of these gardens, not a step further beyond. Adam even hired a private doctor to make house visits, but I refused to see him. I was terrified that someone so skilled might discover the truth about my illness. After a few failed attempts, they gave up trying. Adam began leaving early and returning late. The household staff were all professionals, discreet, efficient, and trained to stay invisible. The only person who still spoke to me was the butler. He started bringing me herbal meals, saying they would help my health. But I couldn't keep anything down. I would eat 3 times a day and throw up 5. Sometimes he would help me walk in the garden, always with that patient tone. Couples fight, but there's nothing that can't be fixed. Just take a step back, both of you. I only shook my head. There was nothing I could say. I was never Adam's best choice to begin with, and I couldn't bear the thought of him watching me wither away. We had been sleeping in separate rooms since the argument. At first, I couldn't sleep at all. Later, the constant nausea drained all my strength, and I would eventually pass out from exhaustion. But the absence of Adam's scent on the pillow made the nights unbearable. Every omega during pregnancy feels this way, craving the pheromones of their partner. It's instinct, not something I could control. I only blamed myself for not hiding one of Adam's shirts beforehand. One night, I overheard the butler telling Adam on the phone that he would be away on a business trip. When I was sure he was gone, I tiptoed into our master bedroom and quietly took a few of his shirts. Like a thief, I hid them under my blanket and breathed in the faint trace of his scent, letting it calm the ache in my body. The way I clung to that scent made me feel pathetic. Tears burned my eyes. I bit down on one of his ties in frustration, hating myself, hating this illness that had ruined everything. My emotions twisted and turned until exhaustion pulled me under. With his scent wrapped around me, I finally fell into a deep sleep. Sometime in the night, I felt a hand gently adjust my neck, keeping me from sleeping in an awkward position. I opened my eyes but didn't move. Adam was behind me, his arms circling me from behind, his skin carrying the chill of the night air. After a long silence, he sighed, a sound so soft it felt like smoke. Marcus, why do you always have to be so stubborn? I shut my eyes again. Tears slipped down the same old paths on my cheeks. Adam, I'm sorry. I really am. The night passed quietly, wrapped in silence and the faint trace of warmth he left behind. When I woke, Adam was gone. Only the creased sheets proved he had been there at all. But his pheromones still lingered, and my body felt strangely lighter. Downstairs, breakfast was already served. Adam was sitting at the table. I sat across from him. The butler smiled kindly. Madam hasn't had much of an appetite lately. It's good to see you eating again. Have some porridge first. The kitchen has prepared plenty more. The first half of that sentence was clearly for Adam's ears, but he didn't react. He simply finished his soup, wiped his mouth with calm precision, and said, "There's an engagement banquet in a few days. The Clarks. You'll come with me. Once that's done, I'll grant your wish. We'll finalize the divorce." The Clarks' youngest son was getting engaged. There would be a charity auction in the afternoon and a formal dinner that night. Adam left early with me in tow, perhaps thinking some fresh air would do me good. The sky was overcast, though at least it wasn't raining. Our first stop was a bespoke tailoring shop. I already have plenty of suits, I muttered, reluctant. Adam ignored me, pulling the measuring tape from the counter. You've lost weight, he said quietly. His hand hovered near my stomach. Still doesn't show. I wanted to tell him, of course it didn't, I was only 3 months along, but I bit back the words. He finished measuring and I managed to ask, isn't it too late to alter anything now? The apprentice brought over 2 cups of tea. Mr. Adam sent your measurements last night, she said. Everything's already adjusted. I froze, fingers tightening around the warm porcelain. Then, why measure again? Adam didn't look up. I wanted to see if my hands were still accurate. We drank the rest of our tea in silence. When the fitting was done, Adam checked his watch. There's still time before the auction starts. Walk with me a bit. It felt absurd. 2 people on the verge of divorce walking hand in hand like a couple in love. Adam, however, seemed almost cheerful. He bought me clothes, jewelry, anything he thought might suit me. If time hadn't run short, I think he would have even taken me to a movie. By the time we arrived at the Clark estate, the auction hall was already full. I smiled politely, exchanging small talk with familiar faces, just like old times. The auction itself was little more than a performance. Everyone knew the Clarks' charity was mostly for show. But in this circle, appearances were everything. People raised their paddles half-heartedly, offering symbolic bids. Adam bought a few minor pieces. Then the final item appeared, a sapphire ring called the Heart of the Ocean. It had been crafted a century ago by a Swiss jeweler for his beloved, in celebration of 50 years of marriage. Time had passed, but its brilliance remained. Many people were tempted, bidding eagerly. Adam raised his paddle. He didn't look at me once, but every time someone outbid him, he raised it again. He won the ring for 20 million. When the ring was brought over, he took my hand. He had noticed, of course, that I wasn't wearing my wedding band. He slid the sapphire onto my finger. Adam, I don't want it, but I want you to have it. I didn't pull away again. The ring fit perfectly, snug against my skin. Consider it a gift, he said softly. He didn't finish the sentence, but I knew what it meant. A farewell gift. Nearby, someone laughed. Mr. Adam, you two really are something. Still so romantic after a year of marriage. Of course, another said. That's the honeymoon phase. Not like us old married folks. Everyone chuckled. I smiled faintly, though my chest tightened until it hurt. The sweetness of the moment turned sour in my stomach. I excused myself and hurried to the restroom. I couldn't let Adam follow. He'd noticed the symptoms. He'd realized the truth. And if he did, he'd never let me go. By the time I came out, the auction was over. Guests had moved to the garden for champagne and conversation. I spotted Adam from afar, talking to members of the Clark family. For a moment I thought about going to him, but my feet wouldn't move. Better to keep my distance. We were almost done anyway. I picked up a few pastries and found a quiet corner to fill my empty stomach. 2 familiar Omegas walked past, laughing softly. I stepped behind a tree, not wanting to be noticed. They stopped nearby, clinking glasses. Did you see that? Adam spent 20 million on a ring for his Marcus. Of course I saw. Everyone did. I was so jealous. My husband started bidding too, but once Adam joined in, he gave up right away. Their laughter pricked like needles. Marcus really has it good, doesn't he? When Adam's grandfather was dying, he insisted on seeing Adam married. So many beautiful Omegas were there, yet Adam chose him, a nobody, a bastard child. Maybe that's the appeal, the other replied. That kind of background gives people an edge. They both laughed again. The pastries turned to dust in my mouth. I'd heard things like that all my life, yet they still stung. I turned to leave, but their voices followed. Speaking of family secrets, did you hear about the Kingsleys? Someone in that family just died. Who? An old servant. I can't recall the name, but he'd worked there forever. Rumor has it, he was the master's lover. Impossible. The master's barely in his 50s, and that servant looked 70. That's the thing. They say he had some kind of illness, something that made people age faster. I heard he was actually Marcus's real father. My ears rang. I couldn't hear the rest. That old servant, I remembered him. He'd taken care of me since I was a child. His hair had turned white early, wrinkles deepening each year. I used to call him Uncle Simon. He was there at my wedding, wearing a suit for the first time in decades. Adam and I had toasted him that night, but I hadn't been home in a long time. Pain twisted through my chest. Simon, gone. Why hadn't anyone told me? I turned, searching for my father. That's when I saw Adam, not far away, pale as paper. Marcus, he called, his voice breaking. I followed his gaze downward. Crimson blood had spread across my white trousers. The world tilted, the lights blurring. Just before darkness took me, Adam's arms caught me, holding me tight. "Uncle Simon, could you please stop picking me up from school?" I was still a little kid back then, just an elementary student. After Uncle Simon helped me take a bath, I tugged on his sleeve and made that small request. Uncle Simon lowered his gaze for a moment, then lifted it again, his voice as gentle as always. "Why, Marcus, you don't want me to come get you anymore?" I sniffled, my chest tightening with a kind of sadness I didn't really understand yet. The words from my classmates still rang in my ears. "They said you look like my grandpa, not my uncle." Before I could finish, tears spilled out uncontrollably. Why doesn't my Omega father want me? I don't want to be a kid nobody wants. I want my dad to pick me up, too. Children always know who it's safe to cry in front of. In front of my alpha father, I was obedient and well-behaved. But with Uncle Simon, the one who actually cared, I let all my tears and pain fall freely. Back then, I didn't yet understand that pain only truly shows itself when it's shared with someone who loves you. Uncle Simon pulled me into his arms and rubbed my back, his voice trembling slightly as he tried to comfort me. "Don't cry, Marcus. I'm sure your father didn't mean to. Maybe he has his own reasons. You're still young, and Uncle Simon just doesn't feel safe letting you walk home alone. How about this? When I come to pick you up, I'll stay a little farther away so no one sees me, okay?" His voice sounded distant, like it was coming through layers and layers of water. But his face I could see clearly. The lines carved by time, the drooping eyelids that could no longer hide the guilt and tenderness in his eyes. "Uncle Simon, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I thought I would drown in my own tears, until I grabbed onto something warm and solid and came back to myself. When I opened my eyes, Adam was sitting by the bed. He looked exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and a faint shadow of stubble on his jaw. "Marcus, you're awake. Are you still feeling unwell?" I blinked at him in confusion, and then he reached out, gently wiping the moisture from my cheeks. Suddenly, panic surged up in me. I grabbed his hand tightly. "Am I bleeding? What about the baby? Is the baby still there?" Adam held my hand in return. "The baby's fine. The doctor said you've been too stressed lately, and the pheromone support I've been giving you wasn't enough. That's why there were signs of a threatened miscarriage." I instinctively touched my belly. It had started to curve ever so slightly. Still there. Still safe. The only part of me that felt truly alive anymore. My breathing steadied. I let go of Adam's hand. "I wanted to go with you to the Clark family's engagement banquet, but I ruined everything. I'm sorry." Adam's grip on my fingers tightened. "Don't say that. We're still married. Don't treat me like a stranger. The banquet means nothing compared to you. Marcus, get some rest. As for what you heard, I've already started looking into it. If it's true, I'll bring your father here to give you the truth. And if it's just a rumor, I'll make sure whoever started it pays the price." My throat ached as I stared at him. He'd always been the kind of man who kept himself immaculate, always composed, always perfect. But now, there were red veins in his eyes, and his once crisp shirt was wrinkled and loose. He must have been taking care of me without sleeping. "Adam, I keep causing you trouble, don't I?" Tears came again before I could stop them. Adam brushed them away with the back of his hand. "This isn't trouble. Let's not talk about that." His voice stayed calm, almost expressionless, but everything he did was full of quiet care. He tucked his pocket square into my palm. "As long as you're awake, that's all that matters. I have things to take care of. Get some rest." I shut my eyes obediently and only opened them again after I heard him leave. The fabric was soft, still carrying his faint scent. I pressed it to my face and breathed in deeply. I wanted to remember this scent forever. 3 days later, still in the top-floor hospital suite, my alpha father showed up, with a brown leather case in his hand. It had been a while since I'd seen him. His hair was streaked with gray now. Something inside me tightened. I clenched my fists and turned to look at Adam. He steadied me with a firm hand on my shoulder, a silent anchor. "Dad!" My voice came out small. My father didn't respond immediately. He simply set the leather case down beside the bed. "These were Simon's things. He wanted them destroyed, didn't want you to see them. But I thought, you have a right to know." His lips trembled as he spoke, his words carrying Simon's shadow, his youth, his regret. "It was my fault. I ran away from the marriage your grandfather arranged for me. I met him. I made mistakes. He tried to leave, but then there was you. And then, he got sick. I didn't even notice when my father left. He was just gone, like a dry leaf carried away by the wind." Adam closed the door quietly and wrapped his arms around me. He held me for a long time before asking, "Do you want to open Simon's box?" I shook my head furiously. "No, I don't want to. Take it away, please. I don't want to see it. I buried myself under the blanket, wishing I could erase the past few days. If I didn't think about it, maybe Uncle Simon was still alive somewhere. Adam didn't argue. He just pried my bitten fingers loose and gently stroked my cheek. He stayed by me all the time after that. My nausea faded, replaced by exhaustion. But my sleep was uneasy. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, sometimes spotting blood. I didn't tell Adam. I just drifted through each day, half-conscious. After 2 weeks, even sleep wouldn't come anymore. I started pretending, to keep Adam from worrying. When the doctor called him out of the room, I followed quietly. I couldn't hear everything, but their faces were grave. The doctor handed him a few sheets of paper. My heart twisted. Were those my test results? A death sentence? I hurried back into bed and pretended to sleep. When Adam returned, I blinked and forced a weak smile. You went out just now. I caught a glimpse of the papers sticking out of his pocket. I tried to ignore it, but couldn't. You saw the doctor. What did he say? Adam tucked the papers away and sat by my bed, his hands firm on my shoulders. Marcus, listen to me. For the first time, his eyes flickered. The doctor said, your body isn't strong enough right now. You're not fit to carry a pregnancy. Marcus, I'll stay with you, we can wait. No. The word tore from my throat before he could finish. Something inside me snapped. I shoved him away. Don't you dare. It's mine. It's in my body. No one's taking it from me. I backed away, clutching my stomach. The windows were sealed. Adam stood in front of me. I swallowed hard, facing him like a cornered animal. I must have looked desperate, but Adam didn't raise his voice or force me. He just looked lost. Marcus, don't be scared. I'm not trying to. I couldn't hear the rest. My vision blurred, my hearing faded. I wanted to fall to my knees and beg him. Adam, please, please don't. This baby is all I have left. After that, everything went black. Because Adam had released his pheromones, to calm me, to subdue me completely. From that day, I was confined. My world shrank to the bed in the master bedroom. If I resisted, Adam would have restrained me. So I stopped fighting. He brought in specialists to monitor me daily. At first, I refused to eat, terrified they'd slip something into my food to harm the baby. The butler coaxed me gently. Please, just a little. If you don't eat, the baby will suffer too. I swear, there's nothing in it. Please, for my sake. I knew I wasn't thinking straight anymore, but I couldn't stop it. Adam no longer slept in another room. He'd leave early and come home late. I'd fall asleep before he returned, but every morning, I'd wake in his arms. One arm wrapped around me, the other resting over my belly. He was always warm, and I kept drifting between wanting to lean closer and needing to pull away. I knew this couldn't go on. For either of us, it was torture. So that night, I washed myself carefully. When Adam finally fell asleep, I moved closer, unbuttoned his shirt with my teeth, and pressed soft kisses along his skin. He tensed instantly. I continued, trying to comfort him the only way I knew how. But then he caught me, pulling me up against his chest. His eyes burned. Marcus, why are you doing this? You don't want this. You're shaking. Why? Tears blurred my vision. I kept whispering against his skin. I do want it, Adam. I do. I'm being good. I just don't want things to stay like this anymore. Adam turned away from my lips and gripped my chin. Then what do you want? I said, quietly, let's get a divorce. I'm not fit to be your partner for life. You shouldn't have to. Adam closed his eyes and took a long breath. Then he said, we both skipped the Clark banquet. That means what I said that night doesn't count. Marcus, divorce? Don't even think about it. Then his gaze darkened. He pulled me closer and kissed me fiercely. The world blurred. We didn't stop, until exhaustion finally broke us both. When I woke up, I was in the guest room next to the master's suite. My lips were dry and sore. The butler smiled kindly from the bedside, holding a tray with water and porridge. You're awake, thirsty, or want to eat first? I blinked, disoriented. Why am I here? He chuckled softly. The master bedroom's being tidied up. Mr. Adams in his study. He told me to stay with you till you woke. I scratched my neck awkwardly. Oh, I see, he said warmly. Every couple has their ups and downs. You two will be fine, you'll see. I forced a small smile, but deep down, I knew. There were still things between Adam and me that hadn't been said. And until they were, every bit of sweetness we shared was just a beautiful disguise. Adam and I had been spending more and more time together. Most of the time, he stayed at home. Only when work demanded it would he retreat to his study. After the doctor confirmed that my condition had stabilized, Adam finally lifted the restrictions and allowed me to go out for walks. Sometimes, we didn't just stay within the estate, he would drive me out for little trips. We held hands, went on dates, talked, watched movies, just like any ordinary couple. As the weather grew colder, Adam always remembered to bring me a thicker coat. Our hands stayed tightly clasped inside the warmth of our sleeves. Right before a movie began, in that brief moment of darkness, he would turn to press a feather-light kiss on my lips. Unfortunately, the movie that day was painfully dull. I ended up falling sound asleep on Adam's shoulder and had to repay him with a kiss after the credits rolled. The word divorce had quietly become something neither of us dared to mention again. When I was 5 months along, a heavy snowstorm hit, forcing us to cancel our date plans. Adam and I went down to the home theater instead and picked a movie at random. Wrapped in a blanket, I teased him, "I used to come here alone all the time. You probably haven't been down here since the day it was built. I actually have good taste, you know. I invested in a few films, and they all made money." Adam sat close beside me, pulling me and the blanket into his arms. He pressed a soft kiss against the back of my neck and murmured, "You're the best." Lately, Adam had taken to kissing me often, too often, but my glands had been weakening, and I didn't dare to respond. The movie started. I thought it was just another average romance film, but then the story took a turn. The heroine was diagnosed with premature aging. My whole body went stiff. I couldn't look at Adam, but I felt his arms tighten around me. When the heroine finally turned into an old woman and collapsed beneath the cherry blossom tree, and the man she loved failed to recognize her, I completely broke down. I turned and clawed at Adam's shoulder, my voice shaking. "Adam, you did this on purpose. You already knew about my illness, didn't you? Didn't you?" Adam didn't answer. His eyes were red as he reached up to wipe my tears away. I turned away, hitting his shoulder weakly, and through the blur of tears I caught sight of a few strands of silver at his temples. A sob escaped me. "Adam." Then I threw my arms around him. Why was it me who was sick? Yet it was you who was growing old. Adam still didn't speak. He only held me closer and kissed me again, slow and deep, as if trying to keep me from falling apart. By the time I calmed down, the movie had already ended. Resting in Adam's arms, I finally confessed everything I'd been too afraid to say. "I know I'm sick, and I'm terrified. I'm scared I'll age too fast, before the baby's even born. I'm scared the baby will inherit it and come into this world already broken. I'm so scared, Adam." He rubbed my back gently. "I talked to the doctor. It's not as bad as we thought. Medicine has advanced a lot now. If your natural glands can't handle it, we can consider an artificial transplant. And the chances of passing it on are very small. Once the baby's born, we'll have regular checkups and deal with any problem early. Don't be afraid, Marcus. I'll be right here, always." His calmness steadied me a little. I reached up and brushed my fingers over the few white hairs near his ear, a bittersweet smile tugging at my lips. "You've gotten good at comforting people lately." Adam chuckled softly. "I wasn't born with much emotional expression. Feelings don't come easily to me. So I did some research online, talked to a few doctors. How am I doing so far? Are you satisfied?" I pouted, half teasing, half testing him. "Even if I am now, who knows about the future?" Adam lowered his head and pressed a kiss to the side of my neck, where my fading gland used to be. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Baby, I'll treat you well for the rest of my life." My face flushed instantly. I hit against his chest, mumbling, "I know you're not great with emotions, but why did you choose to marry me in the first place? You can't have just thought I looked nice." Adam took my hand and placed it over his heart. "No, I used the most scientific method possible." Back then, Adam's grandfather had been gravely ill, and his only wish was to see his grandson married. But Adam knew himself too well. He struggled with emotions and empathy. He never planned to marry because he wasn't sure he could be a good partner. Still, he couldn't deny his grandfather's final wish. So he agreed. Soon, he received profiles of potential partners, people considered suitable for him. He flipped through them all and found himself completely lost. To him, everyone looked the same. His grandfather laughed and said, "Then meet them in person. Your parents didn't like each other's photos either, but once they met, that was it, they just knew." Adam agreed, but being who he was, he approached it like a business deal. He wanted to avoid unnecessary complications, like divorce. So he decided to find the most compatible partner, scientifically speaking. And how did he test that? The old-fashioned way, by measuring his heart rate. They say when you meet someone you like, your heartbeat speeds up. He couldn't rely on emotions, but his body couldn't lie. At this point, Adam looked rather proud. "Only when I met you did my heart rate shoot up to 120. I even tested it a few more times, until the butler finally said, 'Mr. Adam, please stop. At this rate, your heart's about to beat itself into a heart shape.'" I pressed my ear against his chest. "Really? Your heart beats faster when you see me?" The steady rhythm filled my ears as he answered, yes. It slows down later, but never too much. Whenever I think of you, it picks up again. A smile spread across my face. I couldn't help asking one last question, softly, Adam, do you ever regret marrying me? Adam met my eyes, his expression steady. There's no logic in falling in love with you, Marcus, so there's no reason I'd ever regret it. You'll always have me. I cupped his face, leaned in, and kissed him, slowly, tenderly, as though sealing a promise. The movie on the screen hadn't ended well, but I believed that our story, Adam's and mine, wouldn't end the same way.
Well, that's the end of the story. Here are my thoughts on it. Sometimes, the most heartbreaking stories aren't about betrayal or death, but about two people who love each other deeply, yet can never say it the right way. This story, Marcus and Adam, isn't just an omega-alpha romance. It's about distance, pride, and the quiet fear of losing control. I love how the author uses contrast. Two reports, one giving life, the other taking it away. It's poetic, almost cruel, but so beautifully written. Adam's calmness, his logic, his inability to express love? That's not coldness, it's his way of surviving in a world that demands perfection. And Marcus, carrying both a life and a secret, shows what it really means to love with fear and dignity. If I had to criticize one thing, it's that sometimes the pacing feels too heavy. Like the story doesn't let the reader breathe. But maybe that's the point. Because love under pressure isn't gentle, it's suffocating, it's desperate, it's real. What about you? Do you think Marcus made the right choice hiding his illness? Or should he have trusted Adam from the beginning? Tell me in the comments. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me next time for another tale that breaks, heals, and reminds us what love truly costs.